Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us today. Today, we are having a very interesting discussion with two fantastic female leaders of their respective organizations. And this is part of FSDC's Talent Amplifier program, which really aims at giving the current students some ideas about the potential careers. So today we have two fantastic speakers. Ms. Gabo Zhang, she is a member of our Policy Research Committee. In her day job, she is the Chief Compliance Officer in Asia for Citadel. Then we also have Ms. Christina Choi. She's the Executive Director of Investment Products at the SFC. And today we're going to talk a little bit about your potential career in the regulatory and compliance, remit. And so these two ladies are the best and perfect candidates to talk about this. So Gabo and Christina, thank you for joining us. And to kick off this very interesting discussion, we have about 45 minutes for discussion, and then we are going to open the floor to questions from the audience. But to kick this off, I would like to invite you to tell us a little bit about your career, how it started, and what you did between where you were and what you're doing right now. So perhaps I would invite Christina to start this conversation.
Okay, thanks. Hi everyone. It's really delighted to be here to share about a bit more, I guess, about my personal career. And I actually studied law at the Hong Kong University, and after graduation, I began my legal training as a trainee solicitor, and then became a corporate finance lawyer at an international law firm. And I think for quite some years, and then I became a partner with that firm. And I think then I think at some stage, for family reasons, and also I wanted to do something, that can use my skills and also may have could have a wider impact, maybe as a public service or helping or have some contribution to Hong Kong financial industry. So and then I moved to the SFC in 2005, and I was first a director at the investment product department of the SFC, and then and then I became a senior director, and since 2016 I became an executive director of the SFC and a member of the commission or a board member. And so my work now is responsible for authorization and monitoring of retail investment products, which are mainly a lot of funds and investment funds, and also some listed products like ETFs and REITs, and also retail structured products. So that's my short introduction.
Thank you very much, Christina. Gabo, your turn, please.
Okay. Thank you, Rocky, and nice to meet you again, Christina. And hi, everyone. Just a brief introduction about myself. I started my career in this industry with the Hong Kong Exchange in cash trading, market, and product development, where I designed and introduced rules and regulations for the securities market and launched new products such as exchange traded funds and callable bull bear contracts back in year 2000. From there, I was able to leverage the exchange, the knowledge that I've gained from the exchange, and pivot into compliance. So from year 2006, I was recruited as the regional head of equities and global markets compliance for various investment banks, including ABN AMRO, Citigroup, and Nomura in initially in Hong Kong, and then later on relocated to London as well. So my roles as a compliance officer covered like advising business on entering new markets, joint ventures and new business acquisitions, to managing relationship with regulators and building out like robust compliance program. So after spending around 10 years as a compliance officer, I rejoined Hong Kong Exchange in 2015 as the head of market surveillance and monitoring, where I led the market surveillance function and also run the exchange rule enforcement team. So concurrently, like because of my previous like experience at the exchange was in like market and product development, I was also the structured product champion, so leading the development of new structured products. Following this, I leveraged on my compliance and regulatory experiences and expanded into the hedge fund and high frequency trading industry where I'm in now. So I landed my career at the beginning of this year as the APAC Chief Compliance Officer at Citadel.
Fantastic. It looks like both of you have quite a bit of private sector experience as well as serving the public sector. And so now I would like to move on to the next question. Originally, I was going to ask you what you studied when you were in college, but then obviously you have already given some highlights. Perhaps with your background, do you guys, when you hire, do you guys have any specific preference? For instance, since given your very legal and regulatory as well as compliance mindset, would you have a preference of legal graduates over those who don't have any exposure to legal study at all? And with that, can I ask Gabo for the comment first, and then I'll move to Christina afterwards.
Okay. Interestingly, I mean, my education at college is quite different. I'm not like a lawyer like by training. In fact, like back in my generation, so consulting actually at one of the big four was a very sexy profession. So I studied business management at uni and landed my first job as a consultant with Deloitte. Then I moved on to work with the exchange and realized I actually need to understand how the financial market function and what are the different types of investment products. So I got myself into a Master of Science degree on the investment management program at the Hong Kong UST part-time. And after I started my career like in compliance, I went on for a law degree. And when I moved up as a senior executive, so I was fortunate enough to be seconded by the exchange to an advanced management program at the Harvard Business School. So the reason why I mentioned all this is actually like given my very well, if you listen to all my previous experience and background, I try to keep up with like the knowledge that I need to gain from my career. So when I know like I'm actually working in compliance, I went for a law degree, and because I'm working in the financial markets, I went for an investment management program in order to like equip myself with all different like kinds of like knowledge that I should prepare myself for the career. So so that's why like I would say I would say like I prefer having more diversity of knowledge, skills, and experience, especially when it comes to recruiting for my own team.
Right.
So when I hire, I would first assess whether there is any gap in my team members, and then decide what I need to like bring into the team to bridge that gap. So say, for example, when I was running the market surveillance team at the exchange, initially I had too many accountants. So I started hiring like market risk, product controllers, and compliance officer into the team to bring in like different skill sets and like fresh perspectives as well. So I think this kind of experience works well for me, like because we push each other to like go to the extra step and think outside of the box as well.
Thank you very much, Gabo. I can hear you quite clearly, but then it sounds like some of the members in the audience are saying that there's some background noise. So perhaps you can move the mic closer to I think.
Yep. Okay.
I think that is much better. All right.
Yep.
But let's move to Christina, and then Christina, can you share with us if you have any hiring preference?
Well, actually, I think it's the commission is quite a multidiscipline, or actually, we have different legal backgrounds or professional backgrounds. So I think the majority probably currently are maybe mainly auditing backgrounds, and then followed by maybe legal training. But some could be depending on the grades, etc. I think for junior, graduates, etc., or junior professionals, I think maybe some finance background, economics, and I actually, because we also have enforcement, so we also have investigators. So some of them could be from police or the ICAC. So there are a quite a wide spectrum of disciplines, and I think probably similar to what Gabo just I note that actually a lot of our staff, they also study like CFAs and maybe even if they didn't have a legal qualification, they will also study some laws and business management, etc. And as you know, we do have to keep pace with the market development. So I think recently we may need to hire specialists, for example, like in the Bitcoins or the crypto kind of really emerging trends and new industry. We need experts in those areas as well. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Christina and Gabo. So now I would like to be more specific. Christina, you were already quite specific as to what certain roles would be available in the commission. And you also mentioned some of the qualities or background of the hires that the commission has with the commission. Perhaps, Gabo, you can tell me a little bit more about some other, like some other roles and jobs that would be available in, say, a regulatory and compliance field. And afterwards, Christina, I would like to see if you may have something to add.
Yeah. I think for the industry, I would say thanks to the proliferation of new rules and regulations, compliance is always in high demand and has always been the case since I started my compliance career. So if you're looking for like compliance, career opportunity in compliance, there is actually plenty of choices. You can choose from product compliance, who advises on product-related regulatory issues, and could be equities, fixed income, wealth management, corporate finance, and even investment research. And we also have like core compliance, who deals with like employees' compliance matters, such as like personal account dealing, gift and entertainment, outside business interest declarations as well. And then we have like a regulatory compliance that deals with the licensing of staff, for example, with the regulators such as the SFC, Hong Kong Monetary Authority, or other like overseas regulators as well, depending on the nature of like our business model. And regulatory compliance also handles like regulatory notifications, and they deal with like regulatory inspection, etc. There are actually also other specialist areas such as anti-money laundering or financial crime compliance. Or if you are more into like data analytics, then you may want to go into like trade surveillance or even like e-com surveillance. Yeah.
Thanks. Christina, perhaps you may have some additional job opportunities to share with the audience.
Well, I think it's actually at the commission, we do have different divisions. So I think from the operation, what we call the core operating departments, of course, the first one is licensing, licensing the intermediaries. So if you carry on a business of dealing in securities, so and asset management, and also futures dealing, etc. So we have now, like, I think 10 or 11, and that is expanding, as I think Gabo mentioned, actually our regulatory net is expanding. So you can see that we will be starting the crypto platform licensing regime pretty soon next year, after passing bilateral. So the licensing department, and we also have follow up, after licensing, you have intermediaries department responsible for ongoing monitoring of all these licenses, including the firms and individuals. So in a way, and they may engage, they may have on-site inspection and also, desktop monitoring. And another division is corporate finance, which is dealing with more the listings policy, and also kind of a deal filing system, overseeing listings on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, and also takeovers and mergers transactions. And then for my department, I've just mentioned about, mainly the more OTC, non-list exchange traded retail investment products. And then we have a department called Supervision of Markets. Actually, it supervises the exchange trading, futures trading and clearing, cash settlement activities. And we also have an enforcement division, which is, looking after, whether it's market misconduct investigation or disciplinary matters. So these are the major operating division or departments, and we also have a legal department as well. So we do have, we have a staff force of, close to 1,000 people. So in a way, there are different levels and work opportunities.
Fantastic. Looks very exciting, not only for the young graduates, but also experienced hires. Okay, I do have quite a few questions that really arised as a result of what you guys mentioned, but I'll wait until later. And taking this opportunity, I would also like to encourage those of you who are in the audience to type in your questions that you may have for Gabo and Christina, and then I'll be throwing those questions to the ladies later on during the Q&A time. But let's move on to perhaps share a little bit more about your day-to-day work. How do you guys really begin your day? You have quite a bit of like work like on a daily basis, and a lot of external engagement as well. So I would like to see how you actually begin your day. Do you run? Do you like start with a big breakfast or what? Perhaps Christina.
Oh, well, I think actually at the start of the day, of course, I had breakfast, but in a way, I think typically we need to I would look at any urgent news. Actually, we do need to really watch out from market developments or movements quite proactively, and because I actually things happening in US and other parts of the world could affect Hong Kong, because I think we are such a open economy, and also we are really impacted by a lot of market events surrounding us. So I think first and foremost is to we have to see whether there are any emergencies arise before the start of the day, and then I guess every most of the time I will have a lot meetings, and also project management, and also discussion with staff, and also seeking they may seek guidance, or also review papers about reports, whether it's policy papers, research proposals, and a lot of external engagement with industry, whether it's from the industry individual firms or associations. And also, I think international engagement is quite a big part of my work as well, because I think Hong Kong as an IFC, we have to make sure that our standards are keeping pace with international regulatory standards. So personally, I'm chairing a committee at the IOSCO, which is an international association of all the global regulators around the world in the securities regulation. And I'm particularly involved in the investment management side, looking at some of the emerging issues and have a lot of engagements. And before COVID, I did have quite a lot of traveling, whether it's internationally or even regionally or within, with mainland China, because there are lots of opportunities and also cooperations and initiatives that we need to engage with them.
Great. Like the commission is great to have you, who, not only does the substantive work really well, but also communicates well with the market and the international audience. Gabo, perhaps you can share how you begin your workday on a daily basis?
Yeah, I agree with Christina that like lucky or not, these days, due to COVID, we don't need to travel. So I spent like 100% of my time on the ground, right? So I guess I like everyone else. Every day, the first thing I do, like other than my breakfast, is to see whether there is any market news even before I go into the office. So typically I will turn on like Bloomberg for international news and also some like local financial media channels for mainland and local financial news as well. Given my role as Chief Compliance Officer, I work on a wide range of projects and compliance matters involving both like internal and external stakeholders. So internally, I work very closely with my business partners to advise them on their like latest business plans and strategies. And I also sit on several governance committees. So there will be regular like committee meetings for me to attend. One is to like as the Chief Compliance Officer to report on the latest compliance initiatives. And second is to hear updates from business and other functional heads, including like head of operations, head of treasury, to CFO and HR. Externally, I engage actively with like a lot of external parties, such as lawyers, consultants, industry associations, such as FSDC, yeah, and regulators like SFC in different markets as well, in order to get like the most up-to-date market insights, which could be like a new government policy or emerging like regulatory trends. It is therefore quite crucial for me to like kind of allocate my time and presence effectively, so that there are projects that I would personally participate, but others I may choose to delegate to my team members. On a daily basis, I will also spend like enough face time with my team members to learn about what's going on and provide direction, ensure alignment on compliance decisions, and give support to my team members. Lastly, I would say like given Citadel is an American firm, so I typically end my day checking to ensure I have dealt with the most time critical requests from the US.
Great. Sounds like your workday is quite long. Like after being kickstart with your cell phone, like checking on the cell phone, checking on Bloomberg News and whatnot. But yeah, it does look like it is a very heavy lifting kind of job that you guys are having. And right now, like let's move on to. I'm quite sure quite a few of us in the audience are not as senior as you guys are. So why don't we move on and talk a little bit about how junior staff members would usually conduct the work and deliver the responsibilities during the day. And I'm sure that both of you have come through a period of experience where you were not as senior as now. So perhaps you can share your experience around that time, and perhaps you can tell us a little bit about how your young members are delivering the job these days. Volunteer to start first.
Maybe I just quickly start. I think, as you know, the junior members or executives are really very important, because we do rely on them to, as I mentioned, for example, gather data and report on news about, conducting research. For example, if there are policy research there, we need to, rely on them to conduct maybe less market research, but it could be product research or policy or regulations in some of the major jurisdictions. And also, I think moving maybe mid-level, or when you move on, then you would need to conduct more, some, for my department is quite a lot of vetting, or checking or vetting approval types of work, because there are products that we need to authorize, and there are applications we need to process. So I think, on a day-to-day basis, apart from the monitoring or research work, is a very large part is documentary reviews of the applications, whether it's before pre-authorization or afterwards. There will be post filing, for example, for a lot of matters that we need to check. Also compliance with our rules and regulations, and also there will be also a lot of opportunities to because they are front line dealing with the applicants or members of the industry, so or law firms or the advisors, so they could be they will be communicating, giving comments, and also guidance or feedback to the industry. And also, there will be also investor complaints that we need to deal with, and also education, how we work with our IFEC, which is an investor financial education bureau separately, but we need to keep them up to date on some of this the emerging risks in the market. Yeah.
Fantastic. Gabo, anything to share?
Yeah. I think echoing what Christina said, our junior members do a lot of heavy lifting, like they perform data analytics and do research and collect information, could be relating to rules and regulations on different markets, given the Citadel hub in APAC is actually based in Hong Kong, but we trade on 13 to 14 jurisdictions in Asia Pacific. So a lot of times, I think information about Hong Kong is more easy to collect. But then if we're talking about, if we need to look for information about Vietnam, Indonesia, we might need to talk to the external counsel, or we may need to talk to the local brokers, and as well. So as a member of the compliance team, the junior members, they are also responsible for making sure our employees comply with the regulatory requirements. On top of that will be the company policies. They will also take part in compliance projects and business initiatives, assist the senior members to provide compliance advice, help to monitor the regulatory trends, perform different kinds of analysis, including rules and regulations or even enforcement actions, draft new policies and procedures, and also deliver compliance training as well. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Christina and Gabo. It does sound like there's a lot on the plate. And I would like to ask if there's only one thing that is the hardest part of your job, what would that be? Gabo?
I think the hardest part for me, is to be able to say no to the front office. Especially because, as a compliance officer, my goal is to give advice to my business with a practical solution. But as we all know, especially Christina, rules are not just black and white, but could be some gray as well. The other day, one of my traders was joking about 50 shades of grays. Yeah. So how to carefully assess the regulatory risks of these gray areas and advise my business, and in certain cases, know how to say no to them, is still very challenging for me, even after 25 years in this career.
Oh, did you? Are you saying that Hong Kong EX, adopt child labor? 25 years? Just kidding. Anyway,
Thank you. Yes.
Christina, please.
Well, I think it's as a regulator, personally, I think the most difficult or is when you see there are major failures in the market or events that could when things go wrong, so to speak. So you would need to react quite quickly and also try to do damage control or try to and there that could be that is the worst part. Or but I guess we have a lot of experts and in a way I think teamwork, and I do have a very good team and to support. So generally there are lots of challenges, but I think we manage to meet them. Yeah.
I guess the ability to multitask and to anticipate changes and shocks, and also the ability to react quickly to such changes and shock are key elements that or qualities that you guys possess and do hope to have in your teammates. Now, let's move on to the next part, and I would like to seek some advice from you to so that our people in the audience can learn a little bit better, and we can all learn from our experience. So throughout your career, what is that one event that is the most memorable to you, leaving you with the longest lasting impression? And I would have Christina to answer this question first.
I would say is I think from my career or the practice, of course there are, when I was a lawyer, of course there are lots of deadlines and really tough deadlines and etc. to meet, and also, but I think throughout my career or so far, I think the most memorable event would be the global financial crisis in 2008. That I think to me is it still have a lot of far-reaching impact on regulation or the markets, because I think it is very much a kind of wake up, or things have changed or moved. Previously people may think that firms too big to fail, and also in terms of whether it's conduct or product regulation. I think I still remember in my before that event, a lot of people just talk about disclosure, and they think that, oh, disclosure is you just disclose the risk and that's it. But then I think now I think things have changed, because people know that disclosure is just to protect the issuer, or nobody really read it, or you have full of legal disclaimers, etc., or risk warning, but it may not really help an investor, knowing what they should or should not buy. So the intermediary's conduct is very important. So how to strike that balance, and we need to think about some new ways to, beside disclosure, to for investor protection, etc. So I think some of these reforms are still ongoing, but very far-reaching. Of course, in Hong Kong, we didn't have a failure of a financial institution, but we have a big mis-selling of the mini bonds, and also that brought about a whole sea change of new regulations on products, etc., and how conducts are regulated. Yeah.
The silver lining of that event is that it has created a lot of jobs, as Gabo mentioned. Gabo, now, like, what is that one event that is most memorable to you throughout your young career?
Okay, I would say, like, given Christina already covered like the market event, I would say, like, maybe I can give my own personal memorable event. So while there are many memorable events throughout my 25 years of career, if I can choose one particular event, I would say last year, year 2020 for me, I've reached several key milestones in my career. I want to share this because I want to let people know that, like, well, you want to celebrate success in your career. Yeah. So after like 25 years of experience, then you actually reflect back on your like experience, and then you actually think, okay, well, hopefully something that I've done could like have an impact on the industry, right? So when I look back, I think when I was at the exchange doing like structured products. So last year, I was I actually won 2 awards for my product and the platform. So from Euromoney, one is the most innovative solution, and the other one is the best structured products and derivatives exchange for the Hong Kong exchange. So this is something that I'm really proud of. And the other one is, like, in the same year, I was involved in an initiative with this commission, with like FSDC, with Rocky, right? So we drive the concept of like structured product connect between the Hong Kong and mainland exchanges to facilitate the listing of structured products linked to China A-shares in Hong Kong. So in order to strengthen like China, Hong Kong's role as the regional leading offshore renminbi financial center. I think these are definitely the most memorable event for me, and thank you to FSDC for giving me that opportunity to participate in the initiative in such a memorable like year for me as well.
Thank you so much for the praise. I think that, you're not obliged to say so, but then I do agree that, taking part in some of these FSDC initiatives is very interesting. And by the way, like, we are not done yet. Even though we have published the paper, we're still trying to follow up. As a matter of fact, I will be following up with some working group members, and I'll keep you posted.
Yes, please.
Okay, so I'm sure like you have come across a lot of mentors, supervisors during your career. And I would like to see if you have received any very prominent or very important type of advice from them. And if so, perhaps you can share 1 or 2 with the audience, please. And since Christina, you still have your mic on, I will.
Yes, okay. I think the best advice is, I guess, is don't panic, and not to cover up your, any, if things go wrong or if there's any mistakes, don't cover up. I think this is, we all could have mistakes, even, but I think it's important that actually is to really speak up and also, find a solution. or is actually things could not, a lot of things could be addressed or remedy. It may not be as bad, but covering it up could lead to more issues. So I think that's my experience. Yeah.
Gabo, please. Okay. Yeah, what Christina said is very true. Like especially like especially in the role of compliance officers. So having said that, like for me, I have like quite a few like mentors during my career. I think this is one of the best things because there are a lot of things to learn from them. I would say one of my mentors was like the global head of compliance at Nomura, Hisato Miyashita-san. So he taught me the importance of like being part of a team, learning from like my fellow colleagues. Sometimes could be not just like senior like members, but also like junior members as well as the business we support. And most importantly, like he also taught me how to embrace my challenges as well. Because the compliance team, especially for me covering like product advisory, I sat on the trading floor. I will never forget the excitement of interacting closely with the traders day in, day out. The kind of conversation sometimes, like as I mentioned, it's very challenging and very exciting. And because they are also very, very intelligent as well, right? So, this kind of interaction is definitely one of the excitement I had like from the job. Also, Miyashita-san then sent me from Hong Kong to London. Of course, the rest is history now. There are also others like whom I consider my mentor. So such as like Charles Lee, we all know like he's the previous CEO of the exchange, and Kelvin Tai, he's the existing like COO. My existing COO at Citadel, Mr. John Buckley, who's going to become like a member of the Hong Kong Exchange as well. Yeah, I'm not sure if you like heard of the announcement. So he will be joining the Hong Kong Exchange very soon. Hopefully it's because of my like advice. Maybe because yeah. And my current boss, like Yvonne Choi and Greg Johnson as well, and I draw like a lot of inspiration and guidance from them on a daily basis. So in conclusion, I would say like I would highly recommend everyone, like especially like those in the audience who may be like starting looking for their career, and so remember to seek out individuals both within the organization or outside the organization to build your own team of like advisors to help you on your career journey.
I cannot agree more. I feel that I'm very privileged to have many of these mentors as well. And they are like the most prominent business figures in Hong Kong, and learning from them is really a privilege. And I do, like Gabo, encourage people to reach out to these people, and I'm quite sure they will be happy to give back to the society by influencing how you all think. And I really like how Christina was saying, don't panic. Like in your job, it doesn't really happen or apply to, like being a regulator or a compliance officer, but, it really, is applicable across the board to different job markets. And, it is applicable to your family too. So I guess, like this is a really good advice. Now, I'm going to, ask quite a bit of questions that have been thrown by our audience. But before that, I would like to take the, liberty to ask a question of my own. And that is, well, the FSDC has recently launched a report, and that is about the job market in relation to the rise of fintech and also ESG investments. So it's commissioned as well as perhaps the asset management industry that Gabo is in. Are you guys seeing this as a trend, and are you guys hiring quite a bit of people in such regards?
Well, I think, as I mentioned, fintech is certainly, I think you are highlighting the two quite a major trends, or could be game changer, in this market, or actually it with COVID and everything. I think things are really moving faster with the technology. Is whether is new asset classes, new mode of communication or business distribution, and also even in the compliance context. I think the RegTech. I think this would be a big area in demand. ESG, of course, I think this is a global effort. You talk about the net zero, and the coming G20 and COP26 will be really reinforcing the commitment, and I think sustainability and also climate risks, etc., would be very on a very high regulatory agenda. And I always heard people saying we lack talents or experts, because this is a very new area, and you need a lot of expertise and resources to understand and work on that. Gabo?
Yeah, agree. Yeah. I would say if like in compliance, the key roles and responsibilities haven't changed as quickly as the evolution of the regulatory landscape. Yeah, the roles are still pretty much the same, but more in tune with technology, I would say. Because if you remember when the SFC starts the electronic trading rules in 2014, then we have the like EDSP in 2019, DSOL in 2020, and even this year we saw like not just the ESG and fintech, but we talked about the investor identification regime and OTC securities reporting regime that will come into effect next year and the year after, right? So what I'm trying to say is, like, junior members these days have to be very quick to catch up on all these regulatory developments, be it like RegTech skills, or and be able to understand and assess the implications to business and operations. Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure about how the audience feels, but I feel that, from this discussion with Gabo and Christina, being a good regulator and a compliance officer needs to be an encyclopedia. So you're really good in memorizing all the timelines and details and acronyms and whatnot. So, that potentially is a prerequisite for those who are interested. Anyway, there are a lot of questions from the audience. One of those, or two of those, would be in relation to how the people can take career break and go back to university. Yeah, and so do you guys have any preference as to whether or not you would be more desired, you would be playing an upper hand for these people, or are you guys not trying to hire these people who are taking a career break? And would there be any tips that you can give these people as they apply for jobs in such areas as regulatory and compliance methods?
I think we are pretty neutral, of course, depending on the break and the circumstances, but I think we will still consider the person and the experience and the overall skill set as a whole. So I don't have really strong opinions against it.
Same here. In fact, at the very beginning of my career, I took a year off to do my full-time MBA degree. But luckily when I came back, I got the job at the Hong Kong Exchange. Yeah, so I don't think career break doesn't really isn't that really a negative thing, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, likewise. I actually did take a career break early in my career too. for further study. So, I don't
Yeah,
think that,
exactly. It's quite normal. Yeah.
yeah, it's normal. Okay, that is a question from Metaba. I guess this question is really about what Christina mentioned at the very beginning of this session, when she mentioned that there are a lot of people with legal and accounting background, but this is more about if you wish to be the head of compliance, can you have the accounting background and perhaps no say legal background at all? Is it okay?
Yeah, I guess so, because actually a lot of firms, they may have a split, a legal and compliance could be a separate role. I think some firms may have a combined role. I guess depending on the structure of the firm, but I think often you will find the compliance role actually, the accounting background professionals could, may have a better fit at that types of role than a legal role. So I think that you don't, although I know the accountants seems to be they're very eager to learn, and many of them, study even doing their work time for a legal degree or other related courses.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Like when I look at my team, my current team, I think probably just myself and one other member have a law degree, but I actually haven't practiced law, just because I'm in this field, and I think I want to know more about the legal terminologies when my lawyer is talking to me. Yeah, and I don't want to be challenged by my lawyers or my in-house counsel. So that's why I go and do this during my leisure. Yeah. But well, to be more I think yeah, just to give some more advice on this to the audience. I think when I look at candidates in my team, so I think I look at a couple of things, whether they have the necessary hard skills and soft skills, right? Hard skills is whether they have the right technical skills to fill the gap is key. For example, as I mentioned earlier, if I'm looking for someone to perform business intelligence and analysis or build dashboard, it is important that the candidate is familiar with the applications, such as all these things called Tableau, like Power BI or Excel macros, etc. Right? Yeah. So these are the latest applications available in the market. So, but if you're asking me, so I don't really have time to, I'm not in that generation anymore. But I think this is something that junior team members need to be equipped or consider, whether they need to have these kind of skills, right? And alternatively, if I'm hiring a product compliance officer, I would look for candidates whose experience is more relevant, or I would say transferable, right? If they have done fixed income products before and then they want to become an equities compliance, so I will look at whether the skills or the knowledge is transferable. I definitely would not say no, right? Because otherwise you will be missing out some very potential good talent. And apart from technical skills, I think soft skills are also critical. As you can imagine, these days, compliance officers work very closely with internal and external stakeholders. Therefore, being able to communicate effectively is very important. I will actively look for candidates who are competent in both verbal and written communications. And depending on the type, the markets that we are covering, right? If we are covering China, then Mandarin is definitely a must. But if you're covering Japan, then you need to speak Japanese, right? In order to be able to communicate with the local regulators. So other personal traits such as teamwork, independence, flexibility, and especially in junior members, whether they do have a passion for the job or being proactive and eagerness
willingness to learn are also some very important characteristics. All these, if you do not have like any experience before, will need to be demonstrated through like what you have done during college, right? Have you done any like internship or whatever? These are the things that we use to like assess a candidate. Yeah. And lastly, I think the other thing that we will probably look at is, we'll definitely look at is whether the candidate is a good cultural fit for the organization and the team. And what is the potential in this candidate, and whether we can offer like a good career path for him or her in the team or the organization. Yeah.
Yeah, I think just I do agree, you know, with that, because, you know, as a junior professionals, you know, we don't expect you to know, and actually a lot of our is on the job training, or you know, you need to demonstrate your interest and you know, proactiveness, and also ability to learn, and you know, good communication skills. I think all these are, you know, the soft skills will be more and more important, actually, you know, when you grow in your career. Yeah.
Absolutely. I can't agree more too. Now really, for instance, even though we do cover at FSDC, we cover a wide range of topics, but there's no way that all of us expertise have the expertise in everything, right? Yeah. So, you know, like we do appreciate the opportunity to learn from regulators, you know, the government officials, as well as market participants like Gabo. And that's how we learn. And I think, you know, like all my teammates do share that commonality, and that is really to the ability to adapt and learn from you know, the ones who really have the expertise. Now, coming very close to the hour, I would only have one more question that I can raise, and perhaps, you know, I would just say, Christina and Gabo, in that particular order, perhaps you can highlight what you will advise the you know, audience to prepare for a job interview if they were to be meeting you in person at some point.
Right. I think actually do look at what the SFC, or do a bit of background research about, you know, the post and the organization and the priorities and the maybe what are the focus, because I think oftentimes the feedback I got from the interviewers that, you know, sometimes the candidates don't even know what the department or what we do, and I think that would not be good. At least, you know, as you have to show some you know, understanding and interest in the job, and think about, you know, how you know, how it works.
Absolutely. Gabo?
Yeah, I totally agree, because I think I've probably the same as Christina. I think we have both interviewed over like hundreds of like candidates throughout our career history, right? Something I noticed is like, definitely do your background search on the organization. Like, do you know what is Citadel? Well, I think most people think Citadel is just a hedge fund, but we actually like are also like a securities firm. We have like Citadel hedge fund, and then we have Citadel securities as well. So what our business is about, and when it comes down to the role, why are you interested in the role? So what do you know about the role? Do you know what we are looking for? Have you looked at the JD that we sent out to like the recruiter? Like, how is your background relevant? And when like throughout the interviewing process, we want to bring like some of your previous background or experience, or what you have studied at college, right? And how they are relevant to like our job description. It is what you can bring to the table, and whether like they are aligned with our interests is important, right? Yeah, it's the key.
Thank you so much, Christina and Gabo, for participating in this, and thank you very much for those of you in the audience who have joined us at the outset, and like till now. We still have close to 90 people, and so please do stay. The 90 people, please do stay. Don't drop it off yet. We are going to conduct an online polling, as you can see on the screen. Just tell us how you feel, and that will help us better facilitate your understanding of the other industries in the medium term. So thank you again, Christina and Gabo, for joining us, and we look forward to engaging you again for another session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck to you all.
Yeah, good luck to you all, and look forward to seeing you, like some of you, in one of my interviews.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.